Ya.
Yeah.
Ahora pues sale. Sale.
No, I just went on a long walk.
Juan, I have a question for you. I spoke with the right shots and I was able to relocate these buildings here. I remember there were 7 of them. So whenever you have a chance, if you're in the sanctuary, see if you can find this one. Remember you found it once before for me? This is the Orthodox weekly. It's a brown covered one. There should be one more, I think. Yeah, if you see it in the sanctuary. I couldn't see in it, but next time you're around, if you have a chance. Okay, see it. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, well,
Yeah.
no. Oh, he has his hand up, so I printed it out before and I went back. I'm just preparing totally for next week. Oh, okay. Not for the afternoon, but for the morning. Sit down. We got a corner office
I just
here.
don't like what it is, I just moved it over.
No, okay, I think
No, you can put it in there. Okay, go ahead.
Normally Irv gets the corner office here, but.
No, I figured, well, I was here at 5. If I find, well, no, it's funny, I was making spacious. But of course, if they knew
What do you read?
if they knew he was officiating, it'd be.
Oh, right.
You gotta put it out there. Heather is a particular thing.
Oh, yeah.
But that young guy could have do it.
How's everyone's afternoon going? Yeah?
So, what do you read?
Petrol. Oh, wow.
Well, I got his most recent article, which was nice, how the capsule was here. This is like first 2 volumes.
It's biographical more than.
Well, there's 2.
Okay.
Everything is by his main disciple. Or McGill and relatively good.
Yeah, I have a teacher who wrote a book about Heschel's philosophy. He says that he was so eloquent that people don't actually take the philosophy part seriously. They just sort of appreciate the rhythm of him talking, but let's actually seriously think about this.
It's a good paint, it's like a good beautiful painting.
Yeah.
You look at the
Yeah. But like what he has to say is also substantial.
I read a couple of those books some years ago.
Yeah, I read one.
Let's see, Man's Search for God.
Yeah, there it is. I think I read Man Is Not Alone, but I forgot. Like most things I read is like one for that.
Yeah.
The Prophets is supposed to be it.
In English.
I have it on my shelf.
He's like the most eloquent, like.
Who are you talking about?
Heschel.
Take the dust off it.
Very flowery and very like.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the interplay between what I just learned something new in the first 2 pages. stuff I'm interested in. Like, people that know, like 1920, around that period, the population of Warsaw, 41% Jewish. I knew they were a third of the general population.
The other words I did, you would also not know that.
Yeah.
It's just that, I think 70% of the doctors were doing that. They're not doing that in Vienna.
Joey?
Joey, can I interest you in hog butter?
Okay.
Yeah?
We'll be all, much it's gonna be on the left side though.
Yeah, yeah, so, you know, be
Great.
careful.
Better.
Actually, by Heschel, the first thing I read by Heschel was two books in one book. One was The Earth is the Lord's, and the second was the Sabbath.
Oh, yeah, it was the Sabbath. You know what it is, you book on the Sabbath. Put in layman terms.
Sorry, I missed. But let's plan on doing it.
My favorite guy teacher south, you know.
The piano right there.
Right.
I haven't had the music, but
Yeah, no.
we can do something.
Oh, we miss Jim Jordan.
Gentlemen, Dr. Long.
How are you?
It's that term, and it's the broadest, most inclusive application.
Thank you. What book are we in?
We're gonna be in the lunch lab.
We got good
First
reading.
one, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, I was looking at the library.
Bob, can I interest you in Galila? When we get to, you know, hopefully we make
I'm
money.
not the right one.
You have the right one? Okay. Herb, can I interest you in Galila?
Of course, it's a puzzle, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Joey, will be the Torah team.
You're just,
No,
I can include my prohibition to Galila, negotiator, you know, I can do that.
You're talking about lifting it, right?
No, talking about wrapping it.
Oh, wrapping
Yeah,
it.
Joey's doing the hog ball. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I can do that. Oh, I'll do that.
Well, we can fight it out with Herb if you want. Whoever
Well,
wants
let
to.
Herb do it.
Okay, all right.
Next time.
All right. Just wait a couple more minutes until people get here, I think. Yeah. How you doing, Joey?
Pretty good. I got the random history on the way home from the office.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's horrible. Are you physically okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
My car's fixable.
Good, good. What kind of damage was there?
Most of the bumpers, they got sandwiched.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad you're okay. It's really easy to get whiplash from this kind of accidents.
I don't feel any.
Yeah, good, good. Usually it's like the day after that you start to feel it, so if you're not feeling anything, you're probably fine.
Right.
Yeah. You got like their information and everything? Was it
Yeah, we all
okay?
changed information with pictures of the damage.
Good, good.
What's most incredible?
And I filed insurance things yesterday, so body shop.
Yeah. Yeah, you're lucky. I mean, the last time I got hit a couple years ago and they fled. Like, and luckily the car was basically fine and I was fine, but it was just like super frustrating, you know, to have a hit and run. So.
Oh, you were parked and they hit you?
No, I was at a stoplight and they rear-ended me, and like could have been worse, you know, and it was like a little scratch, but like I still wanted their information, you know, and they acted like they're gonna go get it, and then they jumped in their car and they sped off.
Cowardly.
Yeah.
I was afraid it was gonna be late, but I didn't have a minion yet.
Yeah, well, it was confusing because on the website it said 5 o'clock, but in the Shabbat bulletin it's 5:20.
You know, the typo. 5 o'clock is the typo, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I'm glad I was in shul last night because I heard Ben say 5:20. I was like, oh, I would have shown up at 5 and thought maybe nothing was happening. You know.
Maybe not.
Joey, you know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's supposed to be 5:20 because it's always.
And you know, and Steve, if we don't make him in, we can just read from the time if we'd like. All right.
The other thing that I looked at earlier.
Right.
Everybody on?
So I think I napped in the afternoon. I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Everyone sleep naps on Shabbat anyway. This is on weekends, not much of a problem. Not people fall asleep that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
So being the weekend's not much of a problem.
Right. Right. So hopefully like 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Yeah.
I started jogging a little bit. But I didn't jog here, because one of the jogs was a little late. I think I'm late. Takes 10 minutes off the walk.
Yeah, right.
Who would have known?
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. 2 times a week.
I walk on grass, so my brother Paul doesn't because of the animal waste that might be in this way.
That's
When I'm
can't blame
walking,
you
I
for
look
that.
and say, "What the shit, I walk around."
Yeah.
You know I walk on grass? Did you try that?
No, you didn't. Yeah.
You walk on grass too? You know you walk on grass versus the concrete, try it. Oh, you feel better.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Well, think about it. You wanna hit something hard, or you wanna hit something soft?
Well, that-
Joggers,
yeah.
all accepted, knees go out.
Well, that's like when I was in Jerusalem last year for the first like month. I was walking around on all the hard stone, you know, to the point where I like sprained both of my feet because my like in Jerusalem. Yeah, I was walking. You know, I was exploring as much as I could, and then like basically the bones in my feet weren't strong enough. And none of ours are unless we're like in a city like that. And so it's like icing my feet every single night. I had to stay off them for a couple of days.
Where there's a lot of grass.
Yeah.
People think I'm like still worried about COVID. No, I'm not worried about COVID.
No,
I'm
you're-
worried about my feet. Man.
Right, yeah. No, smart,
I'm walking,
smart.
you know, I think they're worried. I try to like
Oh, yeah.
Was this in the old city?
Yeah, it was like really all of Jerusalem because there's not a whole lot of like if you go to parks and stuff. But I was mostly walking around the old city and like I wasn't really doing public transportation because I wanted to see as much as I could, and I was also a little bit like irked because there were bombs falling at the time and stuff, and I didn't really want to mess around with it. All right, well, we're gonna get started here. If we don't make a mini, and it's gonna be a pretty quick mincha, so we'll have a little more extra time to schmooze and snack before we start learning. What's that? I mean,
the Spanish saying menos burros, más elote.
what?
Menos burros,
Más elote. Yeah.
Less donkeys, more corn.
There you go. There you go. Menos burros, más elote. All right. Well, with that, we are going to get started on in the left shalom, the red siddur on page 214 with Ashrei. Ashrei yoshevetecha od yaglucha sela, Ashreyam shekach lo, Ashreyam she'Adonai Eloham. תהילת אדוני ידבר בי, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד, ואנחנו נברך ים את אבי עולם, הללויה. ובא לציון גואל ולשב ושם. הודה קדוש יושב דיילות ישראל, וקרא זה לזה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אני אכבוד מלארץ כבודו. ותישאני רוח ואשמע אחרי כל רעש גדול, רגב אדוני ממקומו. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צדקתך צדק לעולם ותורתך אמת תיתן אמת ליעקב וחסד לאברהם אשר נשבעת לאבותינו מימי קדם ברוך אדוני יום יום יעמוס לנו האל ישועתנו סלע. ויבטחו בך יודעי שמך, כי לא עזבת דורשך אדוני. אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה בידי. We have 9. Okay. Well, in that case, I guess we have to move forward without necessarily a Torah service, but
We've often done it in a situation,
yeah,
whoever prepared the reading,
Yeah.
just read it out of the Chumash.
that's what we were thinking. So Steve, I would like to invite Sir Stevie Green up to the, I was about to say up to the board as if we're in a class, yeah, up to the bima, to read us from this/next week's parasha. Oh, you have it? Great. All right. Which can be found on page 69.
Vayomer Adonai el Avram lech lecha me'artzecha moladecha mibeis avicha el haaretz asher areka ve'escha legoy gadol v'avarecha v'agadla shemecha v'yevracha v'avarecha mevarechecha u'mchalelcha or v'nivrechu becha kol mishpachos Adama. Vayelech Avram, kasher diber elav Adonai, vayelech ito lot, v'Avram, ben chamesh shanim v'shivim shana b'tzeiso mecharan, vayikach Avram es Sarai ishto, ves lot ben achiv, ves kol rechusham asher achashu, ves hanefesh asher asu v'charan, vayetzu laleches arta Canaan, vayavohu arta Canaan, vayavor Avram ba'aretz ad makom Shechem ad Elon Moreh va'knani az ba'aretz va'yir Adonai el Avram va'yomer lezar'acha etain es aretz azos v'iven sham mizbeach l'Adonai hanireh elav va'yatek misham ha'hara mikedem leveis el v'yet oholo beis el miyam v'hai mikedem v'iven sham mizbeach l'Adonai va'yikra b'shem Adonai Vayisavram haloch v'nasoah hanegba. Vayhira'av ba'aretz vayerd Avram Yitzrama lagur sham ki chaved hara'av ba'aretz vayehi kasher ikriv levo Mitzrama vayomer el Sarai ishto hine nayadati ki isha yafas mar'at vaya ki yir'u oscha hamitzrim v'amru ishto zos v'hargu osi v'osachi chayu Imrina chosiat leman itavliv avurech v'chaysa nafshi biglalech.
All right. So with that, let's take a look. Thank you for all my willing volunteers at Aliyot and Hagba and Galila. Okay, done. Appreciate that. All right. With that, we can jump straight forward to the Shabbat afternoon Amidah, which can be found on page 223 of your Lev Shalem, the Red Siddur. If you're still davening your private Amidah, please continue to do so. We'll continue with a Hazrat Hashatz on page 223 in the Lev Shalem. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, קומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו ואהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני. מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. וכלכל לחיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה מצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, כך כתוב על יניבך בכרזי על זה ואמר. קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך הארץ כבודו לעומתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך אדוני ממקומו ודברי קודשך כתוב לאמור. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, לך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ונצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. תשבח אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך קדוש וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. אתה אחד ושמך אחד, ומי כמך ישראל גוי אחד בארץ. תפארת גדולה ועטרת ישועה. יום מנוחה וקדושה לעמך נתת, אברהם יגל יצחק ירנן, יעקב ובניו ינוחו בו, מנוחת אהבה ונדבה, מנוחת אמת ואמונה, מנוחת שלום ושלווה השקט והפתח, מנוחה שלמה שאתה רוצה בה, יכירו בניך וידעו כי מאיתך היא מנוחתם, על מנוחתם יקדישו את שמך. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצה במנוחתנו, קדשנו מצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, סבנו מטובך, ושמחנו בשורתך, ותהא ליבנו לעבדך באמת, וחנכילנו נא אלוהינו באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך, וינוחו בישראל מקדשי שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל ותפילתם, בהשב את עבודת בביתך, ותפילתה באהבה תרבה ברצון, ותהיה רצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך, ותחזינה עינינו בתשובה לציון ברחמים, ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכנתו לציון. מודים אנחנו לך שאתה אדוני ואלוהי אבותינו לעולם ועד, צורכנו מגן אישנו, אתה הוא לדור ודור נודה לך ונספר תהילתך. חיינו המסורים בעדיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, הניסך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובתך שבכל עת ערב בוקר צהריים, הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך מעולם קיווינו לך. על כולם יתברך יקום שמך מלכנו תמיד לעולם ועד, וכל חיים יודוך סלע, והללו את שמך באמת, האל ישועתנו ועזרתנו סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך לך נאה להודות. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, ועל כל יושבי תבל טסים לעולם, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת בכל שעה בשלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. All right, so we are going to continue now, as we've been doing since the tragic and bewildering outbreak of this war, to say a prayer for the state of Israel, after which we'll say a prayer for Tzahal and for the captives, which unfortunately are not in the Lev Shalom, but are in here, so I'll be reading it in the Hebrew, and I'll announce them as we're going. And I just invite you in both of those prayers to fill each one of those with what you're holding right now when it comes to thinking of the captives, thinking with Sahel, thinking of this bewildering war in general. I know sometimes the Hebrew can wash over us a bit, but I just want to invite us in those moments to just fill it with what we're bringing today. So we can find the prayer for the state of Israel on page 178 in the Lev Shalem. אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו, הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך, ושלח אורך ועמיתך לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך, חזק את ידי מגיני ארץ קודשנו, וכנחילם אלוהינו ישועה ועטרת ניצחון תעטכם, ונתת שלום בארץ ושמחת עולם ליושביה, ונאמר אמן. Now we will continue with the prayer for Tzahal. משברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל, ואנשי כוחות הביטחון, העומדים על משמר ארצנו וערי אלוהינו, מגבול הלבנון עד מדבר מצרים, ומן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה בכל מקום שהם, ביבשה, באוויר ובים. ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו ניגפים לפניכם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם. ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם, ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון. יקוים בכם הכתוב, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם, וכילחם לכם עם אויביכם, להושיע אתכם, ונאמר אמן. And next we'll say the prayer for the captives. משברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב, יוסף משה ואהרון, דוד ושלמה, הוא יברך וישמור וינצור את נעדרי צבא ההגנה לישראל ושפויה, ואת כל אחינו הנתונים בצרה ובשביה, בעבור שכל הקהל הקדוש הזה מתפלל בעבורם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם ויוציאם מחושך בצל מוות, ומוסרותיהם ינתק, וממצוקותיהם יושיעם, וישיבם מהרה לחיק משפטיכם, ידעו לאדוני חסדו ונפלאותיו לבני אדם. יקוים בהם מקרא שכתוב, ופדויי אדוני ישובון, וביוך ציון ברינה, ושמחת עולם על ראשם, ששון ושמחה ישיגו ונסו יגון ואנחה, ונאמר אמן. All right, we will continue now. Hi, welcome. With the Aleinu, which can be found on page 231 in the Lev Shalem. Oh, you're right. Thank you. We have a minion. Thank you. Yes, page 230. Thank you very much. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קיותי במליך מלכותי. What? What? Oh, okay. Thank you. It's okay. It's all right. All right. צדקתך צדיק לעולם, תורתך אמת, צדקתך אלוהים על מרום, אשר עשית גדולות אלוהים מחמוך, צדקתך כהראל, משפטיך תהום רבה, אדם ובהמה תושיע אדוני. And now we'll move on with Kaddish Shalem. Thank you for the help. יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קיותי במליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם על מעלמיה, ויתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמת וקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תתכבד שלהון ואהבתון לכל ישראל וכומר ובהון דשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רב מן שמיא וחיים עלינו וכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. ועושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו וכל ישראל וכל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Now we will continue with the Aleinu on page 231. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Kiddush Hatom, Morning's Kaddish can be found on page 232. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קיוטה והמליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולמי עלמיה. ויתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה וכו'. לעילה מן כה ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, נמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל וכל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Alright. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule because we didn't have a Torah service. So we're gonna snack and schmooze for Seder Shlishi, and let's come back in let's say 7 minutes to get started with learning. How does that sound? Does that work for everybody? Great. Perfect. Yeah.
I got rear end against you. I'm mulching on the opposite here. I got a sandwich actually too. I got switched to another car. But my car, all the cars that
Yeah. Enjoy the new library at the Grove.
mulching on the opposite here. Yeah. Marketing.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to find a paying job.
Yeah, that's what I was thought.
Anything? Okay. Some about the jobs and then down here because it's not the budget I found out.
Okay, so let's do this.
John, she watched something to say. So I gave you, you have number 2 now.
Oh my God.
Wait till you get number 3.
I can't wait.
There's all the granddaughters are very sweet.
Yeah.
They
They're all
are.
sweet,
They're all
sweets.
sweet sweets. They are. And they're just, oh, what's going on around that dinner table, man? These kids are doers.
We actually, my wife has a chance to study with you.
We're studying together. We're doing yoga together.
Right.
And to how, you know, when you meet people,
Yeah,
and
good.
meet. Oh, it's incredible.
This place will fall apart, I'm telling you.
Right.
For sure. It's so true.
It really is. Whenever I'm like not quick enough on a page, I'm like,
Right, yeah. Especially being in the pandemic,
yeah.
people were on Zoom using different, you're doing like slim film, the slim film data list somebody printed out.
Oh, I saw that list. Yeah, I wanted it. I was trying to get somebody to send it to me.
Yeah, for example, when they start shop hour in the morning, they page 103 left shalom, 65 slim shalom, 10 seam shalom.
And that was like bored into your memory sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about we use? Really want to do this. Hi, welcome. Shabbat shalom. I think I'm good. I'm just getting this situated. Not Minha mode, you know what I mean? Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
So it's an English translation of the English.
Okay.
So the Alice had
Oh yeah.
oh, this is one of my ones, which is
Oh, that looks good, isn't it?
And all of
and
it.
this came out,
Is it all like well indexed kind of thing?
yeah,
Or is
so
it way ahead of time? Yeah, for real.
this is index, so it's really fascinating. It's
Oh yeah.
all the binding, every time that they're on one is quoted in the middle.
Yeah.
So it goes, it does that for the.
Like a vibe of it, like my world is just open up.
It is, I mean, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I think I have a little bit of room for that book. I got rid of the lunch book when I moved because I got rid of that really tired. Be like, lunch. And then I sort of found like like that. The pressure of the scan was like this. And I was like,
That's right.
exactly. It's just for the Zoom, really. Yeah.
We still do the multiple page number thing for daily Minha.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
feel like there's like a term to that. You know? Yeah. I feel like we should just make like a sort of like laminated cards for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Good idea.
Yeah.
Really good. And I know that when we do day and invite, Michael Harris always says, 164 team fun, 120 slingshot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of wondering. Not this loud. I feel like we've used the mic in this with people speaking with like limited success. So I'm thinking maybe I should just repeat everything that people are saying. You know. Bum bum ba da 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 yum bye da 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 yum bye da 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 da. All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Hope you're all enjoying the Nash. I passed out source sheets to everybody, but in case I missed anyone, there are some extras right up here. All right, here you go. All right. So, as I'm sure a lot of you know, these classes are also recorded for the Betham podcast, and I'm trying to be as mindful as possible for people who do listen to the podcast and rely on it. So I'm going to be doing my best to summarize answers that you all give. So that's what the repetition is for, because we're working with a couple of forms of media here. All right. All right. So I've titled this this shiur "Step by Step," and why step by step. So we're moving from a world right now of the general in the story of Noah, to the world of the specific, the world of Avram, which is a move that we are constantly called to do at every moment, living in both Jewish and non-Jewish worlds, right? And we seem to be performing the shift at an exhausting rate at the moment, balancing the views of narratives outside the Jewish world and the views and narratives within the Jewish world. The word world is daunting too, because how can any individual make an impact on the world or a world? It may seem like the weight of what is going on lies on our shoulders, our individual shoulders. I think that's what a lot of us are feeling right now. We were just speaking, a couple of us were speaking earlier about just feeling helpless as to what it is that we can do in this moment. And I really imagine, as we're moving into Parashat Lech Lecha, that this is how Avram, then Avram, before he became Abraham, felt. So let's look at this first verse here, Genesis 12:1. This is where Lech Lecha comes from. Vayomer Hashem el Avram, Lech Lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladecha u'mibeit avicha el haaretz asher areka. God said to Avram, "Go forth from your native land and from your father's house to a land that I will show you." Now, that's pretty big, right? Leave your native land, leave your father's house to a land that I will show you. That's a lot. It's a lot to ask of a person. I would like to hear just a couple reflections on what's at stake here for Avram. What does this shift mean, and is this even a reasonable thing to ask a person to do? Anybody has any ideas right off the top of their head? Yeah, Paul.
He's being asked to go from something he knows to something he has no idea of. Pretty scary.
Yeah, so he's been asking to go from something he doesn't know to something he has no idea of, which is very scary. Yeah. Irv?
I read this, I didn't think of it, I wish I had, but he went on a march
Hmm.
with his family, and really, you know, having done marches with the farmer kids in the rural areas, people gather.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Judaism kind of, the idea of one God.
So we're saying that he.
So he created the Jewish people when he was let when he said when he said go out, it was to go out
Mhm.
and let everybody know that there's one God, not every little idol that you can smash up.
Right. Yeah. So we're saying that that Avram went out and
Organizing march.
he was an organizing march. He was an organizer, which is there's a lot of organizing going on right now.
So we got the governor to sign our bill. That's
Yeah, he's going on a march with so many people in tow, and I think I'm going to come back over here. I saw some hands on this side of the room. Yes, please.
Well, he doesn't know where he's going.
Right.
So I mean, it would be one thing to say, you know, go to this place. It's time for you to go to this place, but this is what the real is. When am I gonna know?
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're saying here that that Avram's really being asked to take a leap of faith, right? He's got to just go. He's being asked to do all these things without any idea of where he's going, which is I don't know. I don't know about even myself or anybody in this room, but I think if somebody said, I think if somebody said right now, leave rabbinical school, leave your parents, leave Pico Robertson, and go somewhere that you'll like find out about a little bit later. I'd be like, oh, I don't know about that. I have a couple of questions for you. I think I had, yeah, right over here.
So it says, first make arts of
Mhm.
from your land.
Yeah.
Undefined what that means. Then it says you move on. Not only your land, but the place where you were born.
Mhm.
And then it says, Vivek Avicha.
Mhm.
Here's a familiar relationship. So it's really being separated from everywhere. The land he is in now, the place he was born, and from that, then from his father's house.
Right.
So he's going out totally into an unknown.
Right. So we're picking up on this threefold ask of leaving not only your land, but even more importantly, the place where you were born. Not only the place where you're born, but surely that's where everything you've ever known is, but your father's house. You know, it's one thing for an entire family to leave together. It's another thing to say, I'm going to leave my my family behind. He takes a ton of people with him, but he leaves his father's house to go along this journey, whether we think it's along the Euphrates or whether we think it's by some other circuit. You know, it's really, I think scholars think it's sort of the up and down over through the Fertile Crescent. But yeah, it's huge, a huge step into the unknown here. Yeah.
I mean, what I'm hearing people say, I don't think I heard this word.
Uh-huh.
He's being told to be vulnerable.
Nice.
And like all those different centric circles of vulnerability that Marsh was talking about are like I'm not sure I'd be okay saying yes to one.
Mm-hmm.
All the more so, all of be vulnerable in all the ways, and I find that very compelling
Mm-hmm.
and courageous.
Absolutely. So it's a big ask for vulnerability, which takes a lot of courage, a leap of faith, as we heard mentioned. You know, it's not easy to be vulnerable. Really, I don't think it's ever really been easy to be vulnerable as a human being who has responsibilities and hopes and dreams and a vision for their future. You know, I think at this moment, I can't imagine that Avram ever saw this as part of his future, right? How could he have? You know, I'm sure he thought that, you know, was born in Rokastim. I grew up here. You know, I know the streets, I know the alleys, I know the stores, I know the schools, if there were, you know, schools, I know the people. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot of vulnerability to say, all right, I'm gonna leave that behind. It's huge. So I want to take us forward to our next source on the page, which is from Bereshit Rabbah. As you can see, I gave you the information on the page, but I'm just going to read it out loud here. So it's composed around 500 CE. and Talmudic Israel and Babylon. It's a Talmudic era midrash on the book of Genesis, on the book of Breshit. It covers most of the book, excluding genealogies and similar passages, with verse by verse and often word by word commentary. And it's written in Hebrew, mixed with Aramaic and occasional Greek words. So the great thing about these midrashic works is they sort of do a lot of big picture analysis, and then do like, they zoom in a bit, and then they go down to even like what a word can mean, which just shows how much richness there is to a single pasuk. I mean, we just had a 10-minute conversation about this one pasuk, and we could have a 3-hour, 4-hour, we could write a book on this one pasuk, and it's been done. So, all right. So let's move forward to this next source. If I can get a volunteer who is comfortable speaking into a microphone to read it, that would be great. Let me just take this mic down if I can manage it. There's nobody on Zoom right now. Yeah. Well, it's going to be for the recording. So.
Lord said to Abraham, "Go you from your land, from your birthplace, your father's house, to the land that I will show you." Rabbi Yitzchak said, "This is analogous to one who was passing from place to place and saw a building with a candle burning in it. He said, 'Is it possible that this building has no one in charge of it?' The owner of the building looked out at him and said, 'I am the owner of the building.' So because Abraham, our patriarch, was saying, 'Is it possible that this world is without someone in charge?' The Holy One, blessed be God, looked at him and said to him, 'I am the owner of the world. The king will desire your beauty as he is your master. Show your beauty in the world and bow to him.' That is the Lord said to Abraham."
Right, great. I'm not so sure that mic is on, so I'm just going to read it one more time, and then we'll use this mic. Thank you for reading. You read beautifully. I'll just read it one more time for listeners at home. So we just quoted our pasuk. The Lord said to Abraham, "Go you from your land, from your birthplace, and from your father's house to the land that I will show you." Rabbi Yitzchak said, "This is analogous to one who was passing from place to place and saw a building with a candle burning in it. And he said, 'Is it possible that this building has no one in charge of it?' The owner of the building looked out at him and said, 'I am the owner of the building.' So because Abraham, our patriarch, was saying, 'Is it possible that this world is without someone in charge?' The Holy Blessed One, be he, it's gendered translation, so I had worked on that, looked at him and said to him, 'I am the owner of the world. The king will desire your beauty as he is your master,'" so that's Psalms, "'to show your beauty in the world and bow to him," also Psalms. That is the Lord said to Abraham. So what do we think is going on here in this particular midrash, this particular moment? Abraham's walking around, he sees this building, he sees a candle inside of it burning, and he says, "Is it possible that this building has no one in charge of it?" What do you think he's thinking? What do we think the midrashist, which is the one who makes midrash, is trying to convey here? Getting head shakes? No?
Nobody lives there.
That nobody lives there. Okay. Great. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, that was still a guess. I'm not sure what I'll say.
Okay, sure. No, thank you. I feel like, yeah, Bob, go ahead.
Well, it says, the owner of the world
Mhm.
says, "Come and, I desire your attributes, your beauty,
Mhm.
show your attributes and beauty to the world, and bow to the Lord."
Mhm.
So, it's like being chosen.
Mhm.
It's like you're being chosen.
Mhm.
Abraham's been chosen.
That's a good point. So Bob has sort of honed in on the fact that Abraham, or Avram in this moment Abraham in this moment has been chosen. He saw a building, he saw a candle inside of it, he saw something's happening. And so if he asked who is the owner of this house, it must mean that there was nobody around, right? There's no one around, the house was empty, but yet there was a candle. He noticed that something was happening, right? Someone must have lit this candle. So what does it mean? What does it mean for Abraham Avinu to notice this? What does it mean to notice these sort of small things in the world? Yeah, Bobby.
That there is some capacity of divine presence, and he's kind of like he's on the trail, seeking it out. That's the way I'm interpreting it.
Right. No, I mean, I think that's, look, there are no wrong answers. There are no wrong answers. Bobby's saying that that he's noticing that there's something going on here, right? He's noticing that there's some divine force in the world, and he's on the path to discovering or maybe asking what that is. Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. That is a really beautiful connection. So we're saying that Abraham noticed there was an element of fire here, right? And Abraham noticed that it was happening, and it, you know, I'm sure a lot of people, like you said, walked by it and didn't notice. It's interesting because it's a kind of it's a prelude to Moshe. This is, you know, as the Midrash like imagines the story, this would be a prelude to that moment. But no doubt it drew on that noticing a flame and turning aside, right? That's how it's often translated. And having like a curiosity, having a sort of just a wonder about it. Yeah, great. I feel like you're cooking up a thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get baked.
Yeah.
It is like partially baked.
Sure.
I would say it's this. I think we can interpret Abraham or Avram's statement as no way. There's no way that there's no owner of this building. There must be an owner of the building. Or how is it possible that nobody owns this? So I feel like he's demonstrating different ways into faith. Right? Like he could say, it could come from doubt or it could come from hope.
That's great. So he is almost incredulous at the idea that, like, you know, there's no way that nobody could not, a lot of negatives in there, that no one owns this building, right? I want to just cue in on a word here. In the Hebrew, it says Baal Habira, which means the owner of, actually means like castle. Bira is often translated as castle. And here it just translates as building. And I wonder what that means for us. How does that hit us a little bit differently? What's castle versus a building? You know someone owns the castle. Yeah, right. How could there be this castle and no one, and there's a candle, but there's no one around? Where's the owner of it? No one just leaves a castle unattended, right? Great.
Also the status of someone occupying or living in a castle versus just anchored.
Right.
Like something royal versus comical.
Yeah, so the status of someone living in a castle, which is interesting to think of, you know, who is that? Could be a queen, could be a king, could be a prince. And we have a lot of this, you know, monarchical language, hamelech, right? The king in our liturgy. And we, you know, Elul is not so far away in our rearview mirror, and we have this whole idea of the king being in the field. Now the king is, well, maybe there's a king in the castle. There's a candle there. There must be something going on. Which also makes me think the castle, I'm almost imagining like a high room, you know? Like his feet aren't just on the path, his feet aren't just on the ground. We're thinking a lot about the path, which I love, which is beautiful. But I've looked at this midrash several times, and I've never really thought of him like necessarily raising his eyes to a high up building. I always imagine it at sort of floor level. But I wonder if there's an element of, not only is Avram or Abraham on this path, noticing the path in front of him and taking steps, but he's really taking in the whole world, you know? It's not just about his journey, it's about the journey that's happening around him. And I think these past 2 weeks have been, I mean, there's a lot to express with no words to express them, in, you know, to quote my friend and colleague Jared Scoff. another Ziegler student. But I think that, speaking for myself, and let me know if this resonates with you, that in moments where complete strangers have noticed that something's going on, have said a word of comfort, has those moments have made a huge difference. Even on the way here, I was just low energy and like not sure if I was gonna mess something up in the service or if I was gonna grab the wrong Torah scroll, all these things we think about. And there was this guy out on the street, and I just sort of like waved at him, and he waved at me, and he very lovingly said, he's like, "No, I hope you're doing okay right now." I was like, "Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that." Just this complete stranger. And it's those moments where you feel like, I'm not by myself, right? There are people who are noticing, and I think that that Avraham is noticing God, right? Is noticing the God in that building, just as in those moments we're noticing the divinity in one another, right? It's some of those little moments we never really know how it is we're going to make an impact on somebody's day or life, but those moments have the capacity to really shift our perspective, shift our experience in a really powerful way. And there are moments in each and every person's life in this room where you have shifted somebody's day, you have shifted somebody's week, you may have even shifted someone's life by noticing something that someone else wasn't noticing. And there's a holiness to that, right? There's a beauty to that. And sometimes it's so small, sometimes it's just a flame on a candle. But if we're taking our eyes off of our own path and we're looking around, we then may be able to see that flickering light and say, I wonder what's going on there. Maybe I should investigate that. Maybe I should say something. So let's move on to the next midrash here. And for the sake of not passing the mic around, I'm going to read it in English. Yeah, please.
In your translation,
Uh-huh.
you said Rabbi Yitzchak open.
Yeah.
And then there's a verse from Psalms there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened to look in the Psalms itself.
Sure.
As to what it is. I'm going to just read the translation here.
Sure. Do you mind? Would you be okay with saying it to the mic? Okay.
Okay. It says there, take heed, last, and note. Incline your ear, forget your people and your father's house.
Right.
And let the king be aroused by your beauty. That's actually the next sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the connection here with Abraham. God says this to Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to find a way of making up the story. So it took a verse from Psalms.
Yeah.
In order to get into this mashal here.
Yeah. So thank you. We just investigated the sort of proof text that was brought here, roughly translated as take heed, lass, incline your ear. Essentially, listen up and notice. Is that a fair?
Take heed, lass, and note.
And note.
Incline your ear.
Mm-hmm.
Forget your people.
Forget your people.
Same thing like
yeah.
Abraham, right? In your father's house.
And your father's house. There you go. That's a really good proof text. Good job, Midrash. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Bob, and then we're gonna move on.
And show your best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's your obligation. Do your best. Show your best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, show your best to God. I love that. That's great. Let's see. For the sake of, I think we've sort of touched the point in the second midrash I wanted to bring. So let's jump to Bereshit Rabbah. I have different page numbers than you, so it's the one that says 39:9 at the top here. So Rabbi Yochanan here asks a question. Rarely do we get answers. We get more questions than answers. And Rabbi Yochanan said, "Go you from your land, from your district, and from your birthplace. This means your neighborhood, and from your father's house. This means from your father's household." And then he asked the question, why did he not just reveal his destination to him? And then he answers himself and he says, it was to make it more endearing to him and to give him a reward for each and every stride. Now let's jump down to the next bolded part in the English. As Rav Huna said, in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yosef HaGalili, the Holy One, blessed be he, withholds information at first and keeps the eyes of the righteous directed towards him. And only then does he reveal to them the particulars of the matter. So to the land that I will show you, upon one of the mountains that I will say to you, proclaim the proclamation that I speak to you. So he's quoting Yonah, a very interesting and doubtful character, right? And go out to the valley, and I will speak to you there. Yechezkel, also famous for his visions, right? And his sort of faith in those visions. So he's being asked to go on this journey, and Midrash is saying, like, because, well, that's, you want to know all the answers? Well, that's just not how God works. God doesn't work on your time, right? God works on God's time, whatever that means. Any reactions to that? Any reactions to that idea? Yeah, Paul.
Receiving knowledge as something that one has to be privileged to acquire.
Oh, interesting.
I work with technical experts a lot, and sometimes they're very opaque. And I find that very frustrating. Annoyed with the person who didn't take the trouble to write it clearly. But because that's a very different idea that information must be clear. They're saying information is valuable, it cannot be given to anyone. You need the proper will, the proper attitude, certain amount of holiness.
That's great. So we're saying, Paul is saying, thank you, that this knowledge can't just be given to anybody, right? And sort of using the example of a textbook that just seems so dense. You're like, why couldn't this be written clear? It's like, well, you gotta earn it. You gotta go through it. Yeah, Irv, go ahead.
Yeah, back to my why God asked him to launch in the first place. My theory, well, the theory I read is it's spread to Judaism. That's what the whole point of him going. It wasn't just to go take a trip. Also, being an organizer, you never know what you're gonna find.
Yeah.
I was trying to open up in Toronto. I called one guy. Turns out he was a union leader. It happened to be from a union I never expected, and the response was never expected. It went in like 5 minutes. I didn't know I'd get anything done. So what God is saying is don't be afraid. Go out there, tell people about myself being Jewish, and you'll see what the reaction is.
Yeah.
You can't tell them what the reaction is from people who believe in other gods.
Yeah.
Bob nodding. We know it's a right thesis.
I love that. So if I could just pull a kernel out of that, saying like, just go out and try, go do something. You may not know how someone may react to you, and like that is kind of life, right? It's, you kind of have to throw things against the wall until they stick. And I think that actually transitions us well to sort of the close to the conclusion of the shiur. And I want to take us back, or actually maybe forward, now that we're in the new year, to Purim, right? On Purim, we're called to make this olam hafuch, this upside down world, right? That's why we dress in the costumes. That's why a lot of shuls will just play with all kinds of nusach in their davening. It was really beautiful last year at the conservative yeshiva in Jerusalem. All of the rabbinical students and lishma students came together and just did every kind of nusach, and it just kept us on our toes and excited, and it really brought this like childlike excitement about what was coming next, which was really beautiful. But then there is sort of the flip side to the Lam Hafuch, right? Because in the story of Esther, it's very much that the Jewish future is at stake and in question. And that's how a lot of this present moment feels. And I just wanted to, if I have a couple excerpts from Megillah, from a second Megillah, which you can read afterward if you'd like, but I'd like to just take us down to our verse here from Esther in the bold, which gets quoted a lot, and I just want to read it now. I'll read it in the Hebrew first and then in the English. Umi yodea, im la'et kazot, higaret lemalchut. And who knows? Perhaps you have attained to a royal position for just this crisis. Here's another story of another biblical character, Esther, who is asked to do this almost impossible task, right? And doesn't know what the future holds, doesn't know what the outcome is, but she is an individual with a lot of power. And it said to her, like, maybe this is why this is happening. Maybe you're supposed to do something right now. And like, so I just want to conclude with saying that sometimes we're asked to do things, not knowing the outcome, but we've got to put one foot in front of the other, kind of like Irv is saying here. We have to take steps, because it's through speech, it's through movement, and it's through action that we can bring holiness, healing, and change into the world. But what this doesn't mean, I just want to be very clear, is that that if the idea of there is a reason for everything as a theology, if that doesn't work for you, I'm not saying that we should take that on. I wouldn't want somebody to leave the space thinking like, well, the rabbinic intern Rav Nico said, like, there's a reason for all the bad things that happen in the world. I'm really not sure I believe that. I think that's beyond what I can, if speaking from my own personal theology, what I can know. And I think that's very central to both of these moments, right? It's like, it's actually beyond our knowing, So thinking of each and every step as the Midrash saying, sort of like giving a reward to Abraham for what he was doing, Abraham for what he was doing. I think that's what we need to continue to do, right? To continue to put one foot in front of the other, send one text, make one call, make one donation, write one letter to an IDF soldier, and step by step and action by action, we can spread this sort of holiness that movement has imbued us with from the very beginning of our story as a particular people, which we're moving into in Parshat Lech Lecha, to this sort of broad world that we're just moving out of from Parshat Noach, which, the truth is we're inhabiting both of those at the same time. So in this moment, I just want to say that I think that right now we're called to walk each other through this, right? To take breaks, to give energy when we have it, which is very important, and also identify when we don't have the energy to give, right? Because the world isn't on just one person's shoulders. It's a collective effort. It's a collective burden, really. And if we have that mind of the if we have that idea in mind of the collective, we can better bear this weight that we're all currently feeling right now, knowing that we're really in it together. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming together this afternoon. And if we, let's see if I can get a volunteer who ate bread today. Joey, would you like to lead us in Birkat Hamazon? Okay, so Birkat Hamazon can be found on page 87 in the Red Lev Shalem. If anybody, yeah, great. Amalo pashuva dona het shiva siyun hainu keholmim azimale seo pinu ulo nenurina az yomru vagoim higdil Adonai lasotim mele higdil Adonai lasotim hanu hainu smechim Shuva Adonai et Shevitenu Kafidim Ba'negev Azorim Bedima Berina Yikzoru Halok Yelechu Vocha Nose Meshech Hazara Boy Yavo Berina Nose Alumotav תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד, ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. מי ימלל גבורת אדוני, ישמיעו כל תהילתו. יהי שם אדוני מברך מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אלוהינו שחררנו משלו טובו חיינו. ברוך הוא וברוך שמו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם. האזן את העולם כולו בטובו וכן בחסד וברחמים. הוא נותן לחם לכל בשר כי לעולם חסדו. וטובו הגדול תמיד לא חסר לנו ואל יחסר לנו מזון לעולם ועד בעבור שמו הגדול וכמובן ופרנס להכל ומטיב לכל ומכין מזון לכל בריאותיו אשר ברא ברוך אתה אדוני האזן את הכל. right, so we are gonna continue now with Mariv, Arvit, which can be found on page 264 in the red Lev Shalem Sidor. רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישחית, והרבה להשיבה פה ולא ייר כל חמתו. אדוני הושיע מלך ינינו ויום חורנו. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. מעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים תמיד, ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך את אדוני המעריב הרבים. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם. משה ומרים ובני ישראל הכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך בלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקיה מלפני משה, זה לי אנו ואמרו, אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, גלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשם ומאמינים מגנים וגאים ופרסמים לך. ושמור זיתנו ובאנו לחיים ולשלום את עד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני שומר עמו ישראל. אמן. כי המלכות שלך היא ולמעט תמלוך בכבוד, כי אין לנו מלך אלא אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, המלך מפדות תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ועל כל מעשיו. תקדש, יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ואלמד יברא כי יותה והמליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיית כל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן, יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם על מעלמיה, יתברך יסתבח יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה בריחו, לעילה מנחה ברכתה ושירתה, ושפחתה ונחמתה, Lamiran be'alma be'imru amen. We continue with the silent Amidah, which is found on. Thank you, 270. Yeah, there we go. Okay. If you're still davening in private Amidah, please continue to do so. We're gonna go on with Hatzi Kaddish, which can be found on page 279. ויתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ואלמד יברקיותי במליך מלכותי, וחייכון ביום אחרון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה, מברך לעולם על מי אלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי תגורשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. היינו אמרנו אלוהינו עלינו המסענו עלינו גוננו עלינו. יקראני בניהו עמו אנוכי בצרה, אכלסהו ואכבדהו רחמים אשביעהו ועריהו בישועתי, רחמים אשביעהו ועריהו בישועתי. So hold that page, we're going to flip back to 216, Takadosh, and then after that we'll flip back to that very same page. אתה הקדוש יושב תהילות ישראל וכרזה זה ואמר קדוש קדוש שומר מסעות מלכת כבודו ותישאני רוח ואשמע אחרי כל רעש גדול ברוך אדוני ממקומו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צדקתך צדק לעולם ותורתך אמת, תיתן אמת ליעקב חסד לאברהם, אשר נשבעת לאבותינו מימי קדם ברוך אדוני, יום יום יעמוס לנו האל ישועתנו סלע. We'll flip back to page 279. Thank you. 279 for, 280 for Kaddish Shalem. יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ואלמד יברקיותי והמליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביום אחרון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה, מברך לעולם על מי אלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי תקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. צדקה שרות ההון ובבת הון לכל ישראל לקום הרב הון דשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו בכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. הוא עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו בכל ישראל וכל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Continue with עלינו. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר וחי אדוני למלך כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אחד ושמו אחד. Kaddish Tom, Mourner's Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קיותי והמליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולמי אלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל וכל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. All right. Yay. You're just right on time. Yalla. Get the lights here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei besamim borei minei besamim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei haesh borei meorei haesh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Amayil ben kodesh lecho veno lechoshech Ben Yisrael le'amim b'mion hashi לששת ימי המעשה. ברוך אתה אדוני, המבדיל בין קודש לחול. אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי, במהרה בימינו יבוא עלינו, עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד. Shavua Tov, everyone. Thank you for making it out. Really lovely to see everyone, and have a good week. Yeah. Preach. Yeah, please.
Nico, here's some extra coffee.
Thank you so much.
Extra coffee, very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Shabbat tov.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you soon. All.
Shabbat tov.
Thanks for always taking it out. No, I have some questions about that because it's like,
On the book it says.
yeah, because it's just like a home-based Havdalah, but people still do it sometimes in shul.
Right.
So next time I'll do it. I just wasn't sure, so I was like, I might as well just be careful.
Right.
Next time I'll do it though.
You're by the book, so to speak.
Yeah, well, a little off the hook because it says don't do it unless you're at home.
That's what I meant by that.
Yeah.
When I do by the book, I only do it if that's paragraph.
Yeah. Anyone that's not saying it, you're welcome. How do, as far as like cleanup and stuff goes, does the staff come in and do that, or I mean I want to straighten up, but
Right.
yeah, all right.
I'm gonna put my cup with the other.
Yeah. Shavua tov. It sort of faked everybody out there with the one yada die, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like looking at the clock and I felt like people were getting antsy, so I was like, just slow.
Great.
Yeah. Cool.
And we did the Takarushu, which should have been 217, all the way down to where.
Ah, yes, you're right. Okay, I'm learning that particular thing. So thank you.
For Marty, all the way down to where the cottage is, where it would be for Minha,
Right.
and then go back to 280.
Right. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was wondering. I heard you. I was like, I think I messed something up there.
Okay.
Thanks, Joey.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Esta misma la va a poner, ¿no?
Dos vergas, tómalo. ¿Quieres saldría aquel güey o no? ¿No ha salido, güey? Oye, más de Ricky que se salga ya, güey. ¿O me salgo yo?
¿2 mesas de 8 o una?
Una.
Please leave your message for Victor Pacay.
Ese güey está en Parranda.
Va a ser Minha aquí.
¿Ya te saliste? ¿Dejaste el santuario del pino? ¿Ya saliste? ¿Ya te saliste? Ok, ahora pues. Ok, ahora pues salgo. Gracias. Ok, ahora.
Mándale las fotos de las nalgas a Héctor, güey, dile que te vas a comer, dile.
Le mando de las tuyas mejor.
Buscamos una nalga y la mandamos, güey.
Está con una vieja que le quiere ustedes, güey. Esta madre, güey, está. No se ha salido, güey. Espérate.
Y luego me dices tú, yo te veo como un hermano, dime.
¿Eh?
Yo te veo como un hermano, dime. Yo no te haría nada, dime.
Ahí está. No le mandes un cuadrado mejor. Un mantel de uno va a poner afuera, ¿no? Un mantel afuera.
Sí, el que tenía aquí, ¿qué le hiciste? ¿Sí? ¿Tú quitaste uno de aquí, güey?
Sí, pero no fue otra vez tirado a la red, güey. Ahí lo metiste tú, ¿no?
No, güey.
No, güey, no tirado, ¿no? Sí, pero por ahí está el mantel. Ahí está, güey, mira.
En el pelo, pues.
Ya. Ahorita hay que. Tienes que llevar todas las mesas y luego 4 mesas y meterlos al closet de antes. No, güey. Ah, no, en el closet es el que está ahí donde paradita.
¿Cómo es eso?
Mira, ¿de cuál closet? Me pones bien paradito ahí. ¿A poco no has salido nunca tú? ¿Eh? Esa madre ya no se ve.
¿Ya llevaste las mesas para allá? Ok. No, ya está afuera.
Traes 2 sillas de allá del ballroom que está allá, y en los del montón. Las que están en los amontonadas. ¿Ah? Sillas normales. Las que están hasta allá, que están encimadas allá. Ahí en el cuarto hay una mesa para que no te vayas a. En el cuarto más de la mesa. ¿Para qué? De niña. De las niñas. Ajá. Déjalo blanco, Juan, todo. Los chiquitos, quítalo, los hongos también.
No, los grandes, nomás dejan los chiquitos, los que son de pastel. Pues. Ok, ya. Todos los grandes, los dejan. ¿Tenedores? Déjame ver porque güey, se puede servir, no cuenten, me pueden servir para el café, ¿no? Para el café, a veces sí me trata. Ponle que no haya un de otro palito o un pendejo que no mira el palito, los palitos. Por eso lo menea, ya no está chingando que no hay, ¿no? Hijo puta, me cayó gordo, donde no hay palitos, un montón de palitos que estaban, güey. Un día, güey. ¿Y estos que son? Oh, que no están aquí en un vasito, me dice. Ya me amargaste la tarde, me dice. ¿El café lo tiro o lo tomo, güey? Ah, bueno, que le caigan un tiro, trabajo a tele, entonces, ¿va? ¿O tiene jale, no? ¿No tiene jale, dice yo? ¿Estas son 8 veces? No, pues no me está viendo para ver. Viendo para el frente. Viendo para allá. Mira para el frente de la persona, pues. Está bien,